Honestly, Alice said, at this point in time, I most likely wouldn't advise telling my family that you dabble in magic, unless you reveal the full details of what you obtained from the man in the pinstripe suit. It's highly likely that they'll perceive you as somebody attempting to steal their magical information. And as you said before, revealing the specific details of how you obtained your magical information and your three construct abilities could be exceptionally hazardous to your health. I'm unsure that my family would keep their mouth shut about it. It might be too tempting for them in a number of different ways. Of course, you can count on me to be on your side, and I may be able to over time curry favor and possibly begin to lay groundwork for some future things. But those are going to take time. Neither my father nor my mother are dullards. If I'm too hasty or pushy, if I give them too much information, they may read further into the situation than I want. So, if I'm going to do something, it needs to be tactful, slow. So, currently, the only one that I would really suggest doing business with is me, until such time as I've established a positive rapport of sorts with my family in regards to you and magic. It might be beneficial to create some sort of lie, something that would allow me to bring your magical abilities to their attention without it seeming like we're the source of that magical power or something of that nature. Perhaps staging some sort of event in which I somehow learn that the Worthington family has been practicing magic, possibly extending it into a long period of fate rather than something you just recently got into. The only problem with that plan being that your mother and father aren't actually magicians. They have no magical ability and no magical knowledge. Therefore, the only magical interactions they could have would be with you. If that were the case, they might soon grow suspicious. Unless, of course, you can find a way around that, she said, looking to me across the table. I scratched at my chin a minute, crossing one leg over the other, placing the other hand in my lap. That's actually a fairly effective plan, Alice, I replied, and it might just work. Truth be told, I've just recently brought my mother into the fold when it comes to magic. So, I might be able to pull the story that I'm simply the next generation of magician in the family. My mother knows of the magic, but doesn't actually practice it herself. This could aid in extending that timeline. The only problem would be my father and the fact that he doesn't know magic, at least to my knowledge. If your father tries to get in contact with mine, it could be a problem. We might need to establish a way to stop that from happening, but I suppose that's another plan for another time. Right now, I have a more active plan in motion that I believe should take the foremost of our attention, and so we finally come to it, Alice says from across the table. I've been wondering when you'd finally lay the plan on the table, regimented. Oh, of course, Alice. I wasn't hiding it, merely waiting for the right moment. It's important to have all the information, to know that the plan is at least possible before attempting to lay it out. You can't plant a turnip in a stone. In the same way, you can't lay a plan if you're not certain that it'll be successful, or that it's even possible, which is mainly what I've been trying to assess at this point, I said, beginning to take another long sip of my tea. So, in its entirety, my plan is actually fairly simple. Currently, I've just removed a giant gap in terms of my time expenditure, and I've managed to sway it so that I'll have a lot more time to spend learning magic and practicing it as well. Currently, my plan is to gather sort of, I suppose you could call it a coven or a magical group for us young people. Currently, my best ideas of its members would consist of me, yourself, and Eliza. The only one who currently doesn't have any magical knowledge would be Eliza. We would have to find some way to bring her into the fold, which I actually think would be well worth it, if we could. I've noted extremely close similarities between magic casting and engineering. Eliza comes from a family of engineers and has a knack for it like nothing I've ever seen before. This could prove most advantageous. if we could bring her into the fold, her natural engineering skills could be exceptionally beneficial to both of us. As for how all of this would occur, my original plan, which is simply a loose blueprint, it can be altered to fit different occurrences and such things. But basically, what I want to do is convince the adults that we're having some sort of educational camp, like a summer camp of sorts. We'll basically use this lie in order to get the adults to allow us to gather together, and over the course of the next month, we can begin focusing our time and efforts into magic. Magical Index should give us more than enough information to learn from, and with each other's help, we should be able to get in practice and practical use as well. Learning how to use magic will be a fundamental part of this process. Eliza's most important task in this will be to learn the tenets of magic enough to assist me in helping decide a basic blueprint for my construct abilities. Basically, leveraging her extreme engineering abilities to create the most functional combination that I can. Effectively, I don't want to waste anything. I have 3 construct abilities. If I'm going to maximize their use, I need someone with exceptional engineering talent, and trusting adults right now isn't something I can do, especially if they have magical power. They are far more likely to try to take the book or something else from me, force me to do something in exchange for it. If your family was okay with me using magic, I might have suggested coming here and using your house for the magical camp of sorts, but it sounds like that is probably out of the question for at least the moment. So Alice, what are your thoughts? I looked at Alice from across the table to see if I could gauge her expressions. She actually seemed upset at this point, but momentarily she shrugged it off. Well, Reginald, Alice said, your plan is sound as it stands. I would rather enjoy getting away from the house and my family for a month, and being able to practice magic and spend time with you does sound both fun and effective as a use of our time. However, there is something I have a problem with, Alice said, beginning to look upset. Why does that little glasses Eliza have to come? I don't like it. You already spend enough time with her as it is. Why should I go along with anything that lets you spend more time with some other girl? Alice said, crossing her legs and starting to look away in a huff. And suddenly, business Alice was gone and regular Alice seemed to be back for the moment being. Don't get the wrong idea, Alice. It's not like I have any sort of feelings for Eliza. She's just a friend of mine, and she has a talent that I think we should use. It's not like we're dating or anything like that, I replied. Alice was still in a huff, her legs and arms crossed. She gave me a sideways glance that looked all but pleased. Well, it sounds like the problem is official status, Alice said. So, I suppose there is a fix for that. As part of this little business arrangement, we should set terms and conditions. As you're part of the deal, I'll agree to help you start this little coven of yours. Convince my mother and father to help back it. That way we can pull little Eliza in on it. I'll even help you convince her to be okay with that, so that we can start putting your little plan into motion. However, nothing comes for free, Reginald. As my part of the deal, I'm going to need you to do something for me, Alice said, looking very seriously across the table. Yes, as long as it's within reason, I don't see a problem with it, I replied. Fair enough, Alice said. As the problem seems to be status, I'd say we change our status. As part of this arrangement and deal, from this point forward, you'll have to make it official. Meaning, from this point forward, you will refer to me as your girlfriend. Okay, of the many directions Alice would take this, I didn't think that was going to be it. I suppose that means she was telling the truth about believing that I'm supposed to be the guy she's destined to be with. One question answered, I suppose. The only one remaining is, would it be a hazard to my health to accept this arrangement and say that Alice is my girlfriend? An even more important question, would it be a hazard to my health to say no? No, I can't turn her down. She's basically got me. Without her, I doubt this little plan is going to work. And I definitely need Alice on my side in the future. So, future predictions of destiny to be together or not, I'm going to have to go with it for now. Whether I believe it or not, I thought to myself, okay, Alice. If that's what you want, as part of this agreement, from this point forward, you'll be my girlfriend. The only question being who exactly you want me to tell about it. And of course, what you expect it to be. Alice got a very wide and wicked grin on her face, sitting forward in her chair. Of course, perfect, Reginald. As far as who to tell, currently we can restrict that information from my parents. For the time being, I think it's better that way for your safety. Not sure how my father would react, but you absolutely will tell your friends and associates, the other children that you see at the garden parties and wine tastings and things of that nature that your mother drags you to. You'll keep me up to date on which ones you're going to, and tell me what you'll be wearing, as I can dress to match. Man, I thought to myself, I wasn't expecting her to be so complicated about it. But I suppose, in a business agreement, a man keeps his word. As you wish, Alice, I said. So, then we've reached an accord. Of course we have, Reginald, Alice said, extending her hand forward. At this moment, the thoughts growing through my head were, for whatever reason, this felt so much more like selling my soul at the crossroads than it ever did when I was dealing with the man in the pinstripe suit. But I took a breath, extended my hand, and shook on it. A deal's a deal.